Hello and welcome along to After Effects Basics with your host Robert Smith. In this part 2 of investigating typography in After Effects, we're going to continue where we left off in video 1. In video 1 we created this where we scaled our first bit of type, added some motion blur, and then faded in the second line of type. Okay, let's continue. Now I want to get rid of these two lines of type, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that using position. Okay, so what I want to do is go to the end point of this layer here by pressing I, and then I'm going to select both layers and press the letter U. Will show us all the keyframes that we've got so far on these two layers for all the properties. Okay, what I want to do here at this point, actually I need to press the letter P at this stage, like this, and now all I can see is position. So I'm just going to move along a little bit to where that comes in at about there. I won't leave it on for about that long, about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. Then I'm going to put a position keyframe at that point there, and I'm going to move along just a little bit on my timeline like that. I'm going to select the first top layer like that and just move it to the right. I can use my numbers to do that. Just grabbing that number and dragging it to the right like that. And I'll do the same with the Enmore thing. I'll just drag it to the left by using that first number. Hold the shift key down, it'll happen a lot quicker. I'm also going to apply the motion blur to this layer. We didn't apply it before. Okay, so as it moves off the stage it'll be a little bit blurred, as you can see. That looks a lot more natural, so let's have a look at that. On it comes, does its rotate, stays on. Now I don't reckon it's been on for long enough, so I'm just going to grab those keyframes and just drag them to the right a little bit like that. So now it'll stay on for about 1.5 seconds, and let's try that again. Okay, great, that'll do for this stage. Okay, let's add some more type. I'm going to lock those layers because I finished with those two layers like this. Now I'm going to add some more typography, so I'll click on my type tool up here like this. I'm going to type in where traditional talents interact with, I'm just pressing the space, but with the digital, excuse my slow typing, world, like that. Very nice. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to select all that type, and I'm going to use this line spacing thing here just to drag them so they're quite close together. Actually, I might drag them up and make them a bit bigger first. That's about the size I want them to be. And then I'll adjust my line spacing so they're very, very close. And I might move them all down just a little bit by selecting that and just moving them down. I'll put it up in the left hand corner. I need to check out where my anchor point is at this, and here it is up here, just hiding. That's not where we want it to be. We want it this time to be right up in the left hand corner. So I'm just going to press the letter A on that layer. That's the shortcut for the anchor point, and I'll just move it up like that. I don't know if you can see that this little target type thing, and there it is up there now, right in the left hand corner. And then I'll move it into position where I want it to be. That's basically where I want it to finish, like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to be a bit of a designer here. I'll just select the word digital. I'll just change the color of that to white. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to rotate that into position. Now I don't want it to actually happen till the type from the other two layers is just about off the stage. So I'll move my playback head to there and grab this and drag it to about here. And what I wanted to do this time, I basically want to rotate it onto the stage. So I'm going to press letter R for rotation, press I for in point, make sure I'm at the start of that layer, and I'm going to rotate it right off the stage up here like that. Actually, you can see it a little bit up here on the left hand side. That's okay. It'll be that quick, it won't matter. And I'm going to put a rotation keyframe in like that. I'm going to move along a little bit like this, and I want it to rotate twice. So I'm going to rotate 2 rotations, and actually I'll just rotate that twice and put this back to 0. So let's see what happens there. Great. So as you can see, it's going to rotate a couple of times and then end up back where we want it to be. Okay, so let's add some motion blur to that as well. Things always look a lot more interesting with motion blur applied, so I'm just going to press that, and as you can see, it takes a while to work out what's going on, but it rotates it into position. And on comes the next line. Now we really need to have that happening just a little bit sooner, so I'm just going to drag that whole layer to the left a little bit. As you can see, it's rotating over the top of that, so let's just start it again, and here we are. Off it goes, and up comes the next bit. Now these things should happen fairly quickly. I'm quite happy with that. That's exactly what I want it to do. So I want it to stay there, so I'm going to press letter J to go back to this keyframe here. And now I don't want to rotate it anymore, I want to scale it, so I'm going to press letter S for scale, like that. That's where it comes in, a beautiful thing. I really want it to start to scale about here. About there is good. And actually I also want the transparency, so I'm going to hold the shift key down and press the letter T. That'll give me transparency or opacity at the same time. And I'm going to scale that. I actually put a keyframe in like that. And then I'm going to move along a little bit to about here. And I'm going to scale that up dramatically like that, and I'm also going to fade it out at the same time by dragging that back to 0. So as it comes off the stage, it'll come onto the stage. Let's have a look at that. As you can see, once the blur gets applied, everything slows down, and off the stage it goes. Let me go, excuse me, I'll go back to the RAM preview. Great, that's exactly what we want, but it's probably coming off a little bit too soon, so I'm just going to click and drag those keyframes to the left, and I might actually select this keyframe and drag it so it happens a lot quicker. Okay, let's watch that. Exactly what we want. On comes the second bit, and away it goes. Okay, let's add some more type in the next video.